Right, how's it going everyone? Chris here with my next question time video. This is episode 13, so quite far into it now. I've been doing them for a while. I've got a bunch of questions that I've picked out from my Formspring account that I'm going to run through. So if I can find them, where have they gone? Right, so first question from Rob Nilas. Have you used a Wacom tablet and do you recommend it? Yes, I've used two of them. I first started out with a Wacom Bamboo. Actually, I don't. How are you meant to pronounce? Is it Wacom? 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 No idea, but I always call them Wacom. So I started off with a Bamboo Fun, which is kind of like the basic entry level tablet. I bought that one because I wasn't too sure if I wanted to spend. They're quite expensive, so I didn't know whether I wanted to spend a lot of money on one. I didn't know whether I'd use it, so I bought the Bamboo Fun, and it came with the pen and the mouse, and it was medium sized one, so it was a decent size. And just played around with it, and I found that I did actually use it. It makes it, in Photoshop you can obviously use the brushes a lot easier, and you can do obviously illustration in Illustrator, and it just makes life a lot easier when you're using brushes, because you can change the sensitivity a lot easier by pressing harder on the tablet. Now the Bamboo Fun has only like half the sensitivity of the Intuos 3, which is what I ended up upgrading to. I got one off eBay. Unfortunately, it was from a smoker, so it absolutely stank when I got it, and I had to kind of keep cleaning it with antibacterial cleaning stuff and apple fragrance wipes. But I think I've just about got rid of the smell now. So every time I use my mouse or the pen tablet, my hands would stink like I'd been on 40 fags a day. So no offence to any smokers out there, but you've got stinky fingers. So yeah, I upgraded to the Intuos 3, and it's a lot nicer. It's a lot more sensitive. And one problem I found with the Bamboo is that when you'd lift off the tablet, sometimes it'd not register, and you'd get like a paint flick, so to speak, across your design. So that was annoying sometimes. But I've not had anything like that with the Intuos 3, and I think the latest one, I think I've not been really keeping up to date with the series, but is the latest one Intuos 4 or something like that. So definitely worth getting if you've got a bit of cash to spare. It can make design work a lot easier, and obviously opens up new opportunities for doing illustrations directly in the apps. And like I said about the Photoshop brushes, you get a lot more like variety in your tone and stuff, so definitely worth getting one. So next up, hi Chris, have you ever used the 3D tools in Illustrator or Photoshop for a project, or tried out 3D software like Blender or Maya? Just curious if your design interests extend to those areas. Yes, I've actually been quite interested in 3D before. It was back when I was in college, and I was kind of just still figuring out what sort of design, what sort of realm of design I wanted to get into. I was really into the 3D stuff, and I wanted to kind of move to America and work on the 3D special effects in movies and stuff, but obviously that never happened. But I bought about 300 quid's worth of training DVDs for Maya, and got a fair way through them. I was creating like little models and monsters and stuff, and I didn't get into the animation of it. I was still into like the modelling and the texturing and stuff, but I was pretty interested in it. I used to love looking at the what those sites called where all the 3D artists post up the projects. I used to love looking at those, but I just found that I picked up web design and illustration a lot quicker, and I ended up following those routes and ditching the 3D stuff altogether. I can't say I've used any of the 3D tools in Illustrator or Photoshop. I'm on CS4, so I think there's some 3D stuff in Photoshop. Occasionally use the 3D extrude and bevel in Illustrator, but nothing really super fancy. Not like what you can, what's possible and what you can do in those things. But might give them a try sometime in the future, and obviously you'll see a tutorial on the subject if I ever do. Right, so next question is from Stephen from Vivaz Media. Hi Chris, when you're at client working, do you do first come first served basis, or switch between clients and projects? Now I think what Stephen means is it's kind of how many clients take on at one time. I think that's kind of the basis of the question. I mean, I've not been doing as much client work nowadays. I've cut it all down, working kind of full time on my blogs now. But I used to do a fair bit of client work as a freelancer, and I used to take on multiple client work. So I'd not take on a client and then not take anyone else on, kind of like that first come first served basis. Because like we all know with client projects, things always have to go back and forth, and you do something, then you've got to wait until you get a response, and then you do something else, and then you've got to send it off again, and there's lots of downtime. So I think it's worthwhile to take on multiple clients at any one time, and then swap and change between projects as you've got downtime. So I used to generally just take on a few clients. I'd work on a certain project in the morning, send that off by email, and then move on to something else after lunch. So I'd be working on 2 different projects a day, and then obviously the next day, if the client had gone back, I'd carry on working on that stuff, and then keep swapping and changing. Obviously it does depend. You've got to kind of learn from experience how many clients you can take on at any one time, because obviously logo projects are a lot smaller than full website projects and things like that. So it's worth just learning from experience, having a few late nights and learning that that's too many projects, too many clients to take on, and just kind of getting a feel for it over time. But definitely work on taking multiple clients on at a time, because if you're working on a first come first served basis, you're going to find that you're wasting a lot of time during the day not having client projects to work on. Right, so that's it for questions. I've got a few links that I've been tweeting out, or due to tweet out, for some interesting design related articles that I'm sure you'll find interesting. So first one is from Smashing Magazine. It's a post by Paul Boag. Some great tips on how to get sign off for your designs. Some really good tips for anyone working either as a freelancer or even in-house. It's tips like prevention is better than cure, and some little tips that I've always used, like when you're sending over visuals to a client, not to just ask what do they think, and it's kind of wording it into your favour, so you don't end up with lots of changes and the project just lasting forever. So have a read through that. Some great tips and great advice for anyone working with clients, which I'm guessing is a fair spectrum of my audience here. So next design link is one from Web Design Depot. This is titled Common Elements Used in Interface Button Design. The title probably doesn't relate to what the articles, what the full gist of the article is. It kind of just gives an overview of the different styles and effects used in interface design, in web design, but then also gives you little tutorials on each section on how to create that specific style. So it shows you a little showcase of textured buttons, then shows you how to create a textured button. Like things like the ribbons, then shows you how to create the ribbons, patterns, shows you how to create the patterns, and so on. So it's definitely a good one for any beginners. So if you're looking to replicate the styles that you often see in web designs of modern times. So last design link for this week is one from PSD Toots. That's titled How to Draw a Vintage Polaroid Camera Icon. It looks pretty similar to the icon used on the Instagram app. I'm sure we're all familiar with that one. So yeah, it's quite an in-depth one. It into quite a lot of detail, and it kind of shows you how to construct this camera icon in Photoshop with all different layer effects and layer styles and gradients and things like that. So definitely worth checking out for any of your upcoming icon designs. So that's about it. So thanks for watching again. Be sure to stick around for the upcoming episodes. I post them every couple of weeks. If you want to ask a question, then drop it over on Formspring. I tend to go through and answer them all in text format, and then pick out an odd few that I can expand on or talk about in video. So drop me a question if you've got one to ask, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.